Hey everybody, ronarray here, and I really liked Bloodmage concept from Path of Exile 1, and I think it's going to translate to Path of Exile 2. In this video, I want to share my build idea for Bloodmage in Path of Exile 2. I think it's a very promising ascendancy, and the build I came up with should be pretty strong and should be able to clear all the content, at least in theory. Please keep in mind that it's a build theory, I haven't tested all of it, and there could be some changes later on. However, I will try to support it. Let's go! So let's start with our skills, because I think the skills are pretty much making it build. And first off, the most important part here that I'm going to use is Eye of Winter. I think Eye of Winter stacking very good with Bloodmage, because Eye of Winter gives you inflicts critical weakness on hit. And when we are playing Bloodmage, we have a very cool opportunity to pretty much use crits in our build. I think stacking with crits, Eye of Winter is going to be pretty strong. But on top of Eye of Winter, I'm also using Cast on Critical again, because I think Cast on Critical stacks well with Bloodmage too. We're critting more, we're investing heavily into crit, and it should work very good. So for Cast on Critical we have Comet here, because I think Comet is one of the strongest skills right now in terms of pure damage. It also has +1 seconds to total cast time, but when we're casting it on crit with Cast on Critical, we're not really receiving that bonus on top. So it still will be like 1 second cast time in terms of energy, and I think it's a very strong bonus, because if we would self-cast it, it would take more time. And since we're pretty much based on cold damage, I'm also utilizing Cast on Freeze, because I think Cast on Freeze should help significantly with clear. Using Cold Snap for it. Cold Snap shatters a frozen enemy, dealing a large amount of cold damage in a small area. I think it's very good because it's going to instantly one-shot and shatter monsters that are frozen. And it should work at least at basic monsters, so white ones and blue ones. Let's go a little into specific and look at our Eye of Winter. That's going to be the main skill. I think it's pretty important. It has a very strong critical strike chance for a spell, so it's about 12% right here, so it's very good. But unfortunately cast time is a little too high and we will need to go around it. So we're firing a single projectile, which not really hitting the enemies, but it's constantly releasing damaging shards, like in a spiral around it, and those shards are pretty much doing damage instead. So important part to make Eye of Winter viable, we will need to at least get faster casting. So if you will get faster casting, it will be much more comfortable. I think cast time of 1.1 second is definitely too high, and faster casting is recommended. And we're also going to use Unleash support, because Unleash support stacks very well with it. Unleash will lead to us casting more Eye of Winters just with Unleash, because we are receiving seals. And even if we will do less damage, we still can crit with all of them, like with all projectiles from those Eye of Winters. And all of those crits can pretty much trigger Cast on Critical. So all of that also going to work very good with basic bonuses such as Cold Penetration, for example, and Cold Mastery. So we are still buffing our damage for Eye of Winter here. And talking about Cast on Critical, Comet by itself is very cool, but on top of it, we're also going to use Spellicast, so there are going to be 2 comets instead of 1. And we're also using Concentrated Effect for smaller area, because it will be easier to hit, especially big bosses in Path of Exile 2, and most of them are pretty big. And we're also using Inevitable Critical, because we're not really casting Comet that often. Since Cast on Critical is not triggering that often, we will have an open time. And why we are not casting it? Inevitable Critical will be stuck to the maximum. It will help us to almost always crit with Comet, because we already invested a lot in the critical strike chance, but with Inevitable Critical on top, it's going to crit significantly more often. And the last part is critical strike damage, because since we're critting almost all the time with the Comet, right? Critical damage works just perfectly in there. And cast on freeze for cold snap, I think it's very basic, we're getting area of effect and we're getting frozen vortex. After it, we'll need to talk about defenses, but first let's talk about Ascendancy. And here pretty much comes the Ascendancy. So we're taking Sanguimancy because we don't have a choice and we're going to stack our life. And the rest of the Ascendancies will have a few different options. So first off, I think Vitality Siphon for 10% of spell damage leached as life is definitely worth it. It's going to make us significantly tankier and I would take it in like 90% of the cases. So we already spent 2 points, like here and here, and we have only 2 big passives left, like 4 points overall. And right now, I think going for number 5 here, for Gore Spike for increased critical damage per 40 life, is a very good idea, because it's going to buff our damage significantly. However, I don't think we need number 6, so Thunder the Flash sounds good, but it gives base critical hit chance for spells as 15%. But look, since we have already 12% at Eye of Winter and 13% at Comet, I don't see a lot of point to go for Thunder the Flash, and I would probably just ignore it. So instead of Thunder the Flash, we'll have a few different options. We can go for Blood Barbs to get damage as extra physical and some bleeding. I don't really think it will be too strong because we're not really investing in bleeding heavily. Maybe combining it with bleed would be a nice idea, however I would definitely need to test it before investing in anything like that. So, since that one is questionable, I think going for 7 would be a very nice option, because look, if you are taking Grasping Woods here, it gives us 25% of life loss from hits is prevented, then that much life is lost over 4 seconds instead, and that's like Petrified Blood. I already commented on it and I think it's a very strong option, because it's literally Petrified Blood without any big downsides. So it looks like it's worth it in almost all the cases. Unfortunately, we don't have enough points to take number 8 here, but maybe in some cases, if we will drop Gore Spike, it could be possible, or even Vitality Siphon if we will have enough sustain. But right now I'm thinking about taking 1, 2, 5 and 7, like most balanced choice. It's going to give us a lot of sustain with Vitality Siphon, it's going to help us survive with number 7 Grasping Wounds, and we're also going to get crit damage from Gore Spike, and it's looking like a best option. So talking about the rest of the build and our survivability, I'm taking Blasphemy together with Enfeeble, because I think it's going to boost our survivability tremendously. All enemies around us will just deal 21% less damage, and that's absolutely amazing for survivability. Even bosses will deal 16% less damage, and that's pretty cool. So Blasphemy plus Enfeeble is probably a very strong option for it. And I'm going to self-custom Mark, because I think Sniper Mark making sense here. It gives us more critical strike damage bonus, and as far as I know we can't use Marks with Blasphemy, so we will still need to handcast it, mostly at bosses to be honest. So more duration supports Sniper Mark, it will lead to up like 10-11 seconds. And we also have like Heightened Curse for 25% more effect of supported curses. I think it's very good, we are going to receive more critical damage bonus and we're just going to do more damage overall. And the last part is like Decaying Hacks. That part is not really set in stone, I'm not sure if it's even going to work. However, it looks like a pretty interesting combination in theory. So Decaying Hacks gives you support skills inflicts decay, dealing 10% of intelligence as chaos damage. But I want to pair it with Chaotic Freeze. So enemies taking chaos damage over time from supported skills receive freeze build up when hit by chaos damage. So in that regard, if we are hitting with any kind of chaos damage, except the damage over time itself, it's going to help us and build some freeze on the enemy. For it we will be able to use additional options, and most of the time it should be just Dark Effigy. Dark Effigy gives us a totem that bombards enemies afflicted by chaos damage over time debuffs. So since we already have like Sniper Mark and debuff Decaying Hacks on the enemies, I think Dark Effigy could work very good here and just would help us freeze bosses more consistently. And as another defensive measure, I'm using Arctic Armor, because I think Arctic Armor is absolutely amazing, especially for cold builds. It can provide cool bonuses and boost our survivability for only 30 spirit. So I'm also adding Vitality to it, because additional life regeneration is going to work very good for the builds that pretty much based around life. And another very important part here. You probably noticed that I have like custom critical and custom freeze. Both of them reserve 100 spirit. But it's already confirmed that those skills are going to reserve 60 spirit instead. So we have 60 for custom critical, 60 for custom freeze, that's 120. We have 1 cures for blasphemy, that's 150. And on top of it, we have Arctic Armor. So 30 more, 180 approximately. We still will probably need to take a little spirit reservation somewhere in the tree, especially if we are going to use Vitality. But still, generally we just should have enough spirit. And let's talk about the tree and what we are doing in the tree. So generally in the tree, since we are playing Bloodmage, we will need to go to the left part. I honestly think that Blood Magic is pretty much worth it in our current case, because that way we could ignore all the mana, we will be able to just regenerate our life with Vitality, we will be able to leech our life too. So just passing to the left and taking Blood Magic is currently my choice. The main reason why I don't really want to use an Archmage is just the mana cost of Winter. It costs 76 mana, and we will need to cast it like pretty consistently. And we also have a Comet that costs like 92 mana, that's a very big number, so if you are going to use like Archmage, it's going to make our mana cost very high. And I don't think it's worth it at the moment. So going back to the tree, I think going for Blood Magic is a good idea. So we're going to path through basic nodes here, probably taking maybe increase effect of auras for better survivability, and just go for Blood Magic. After we finished with Blood Magic, I think we should just take cold damage here. It's very close to Blood Magic. For example, we have cold nature right here, and it should work very good. Increase chill duration, increase cold damage. We can also take a few additional elemental nodes, so if we will just set elemental, we can take maximum resistance here. It will probably worth 3 points because we are passing to Blood Magic anyway. We also can go up and take Exploit the Elements, for example, because affected by elemental elements going to boost our damage against frozen enemies. We can also go for increased. We can also go for additional bonuses. Going up and pretty much just searching for cold, because there's a lot of cold options up there. We can go for Breath of the Cold, damage penetrates cold resistance. We can go for climate change, it freeze build up and cold damage is extra fire damage against frozen enemies. I think that one is going to be very good, and if we will get it, there's a chance that we are going to add Ignite into the build later on. For now, I still need to test it to pretty much be sure that it's going to work. And on top of it, we're probably going to reach Endless Blizzard, because +1 level of all cold skills is going to boost us significantly. Because right now we have Winter, it's a cold skill, we have Comet, it's a cold skill, we have Cold Snap, it's a cold skill too. So all of our skills are pretty much cold skills. I think it's a very nice combo right now. I don't think going to the right is pretty much worth it. So I would probably just pick up part of the tree and take Blood Magic when we can do that. The rest, except the cold bonuses here and here, should be defenses, because I think defenses are definitely worth it. We will be able to take a lot of them, starting with maximum resistance here with Prism Guard and going for the rest. So generally that's most part of the build idea. I think it's going to stack very well, especially at the end game, and the whole damage will be built around just stacking as much life as possible. So life is going to give us survivability, life is going to give us critical damage, and I think it's just going to work perfectly. We also will have leech and a lot of defensive layers, so class should feel, I wouldn't say tanky, but probably normal in terms of survivability. So that's been my idea to play a cold blood mage with life stacking. I think it's going to be a pretty cool build, getting some freeze and chill in the process, getting some crits, comets, and orbs flying around. And I think it should be pretty fun to play. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more Path of Exile 2 content. See you on December 6th. ronarray out.